What's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you all to the official last episode of the Real GP series, and of course I've saved the most iconic Slayer monster for last. Today on the Real GP series, we'll be checking out that Slayer monster that seems to be everyone's #1 goal, the Abyssal Demons. Before we get started, I want to thank all of you for sticking with me throughout this series. I've put in a ton of hours for this series and it's taken me over 4 months to complete. As most of you should probably know by now, every NPC for this series was viewer requested, but as usual, I'd like to invite all of you to hang out in my Discord and clan chat. The Slayer squad has grown into something I never could have imagined, and I'd like for anyone who would like to be a part of it to always feel welcome. We've always got people looking for boss and raid teams, so if you're struggling to find a team, by all means pop in and see if anyone else is also looking for a team. So without further ado, let's get rolling with this week's video. In my personal opinion, and I'm sure many of yours as well, Abyssal Demons are probably the most iconic Slayer monster in the game. Reaching that level 85 milestone is probably one of the most important milestones that any player can achieve. Slayer most definitely isn't the fastest skill to train, so once you hit that level 85, it really feels like you achieved something great. The Abyssal Demons are found in 2 locations, the first being in the Mauritania Slayer Tower. At the Slayer Tower location, if you're just killing Abyssal Demons for recreation or trying to get your hands on another whip, you'll want to head all the way up to the northwestern corner of the 3rd floor or the 2nd floor UK. Here, you'll find a decent amount of Abyssal Demon spawns. Additionally, if you're on a Slayer task, you can also head down into the basement to kill Abyssal Demons. Be advised that this area is for people who are on task only. The second location that the Abyssal Demons can be found is in the Catacombs of Kourend. Near the entrance, you'll be able to see the first location, which houses 4 Abyssal Demon spawns, but if you're looking for a location with a few more spawns, you'll need to head north, then east past the Bloodvelds, turn north and run past the Greater Demons, and you'll find them right in the middle, northeastern part of the Catacombs. Abyssal Demons have a combat level of 124 with an accompanying hit points level of 150. They are not aggressive and not poisonous, their maximum hit is 8, and their primary weakness is magic. Although their primary weakness is magic, they are a part of the demon class of NPC, so if you're meleeing, you'll want to be using the Arclight. The Arclight does take charges to use, so if you don't have an Arclight or don't want to waste the charges, your best melee weapon will do. The Abyssal Demons have an attack level of 97, strength level of 67, and a defense level of 135. Their magic and range levels are both 1, and since they only use the melee combat style, we won't need to worry about any of these. As for the additional resistances, each attack style, with the exception of magic, is plus 20, so regardless of the combat style you choose to fight them, the damage is going to be pretty much consistent across the board. As for their drop table, it's honestly not very stupendous. The Abyssal Demons have 2 unique drops that can only be dropped by themselves and their Slayer boss variant, the Abyssal Sire. The first of which is the Abyssal Whip, which is the best in slot weapon for attack and defense training. This is dropped at a rate of 1 in 512. Next, we have the Abyssal Dagger, similar to Dust Devils dropping the Dragon Chain Body. The Abyssal Dagger being dropped by an Abyssal Demon was meant to be an incredibly rare drop, thus its drop rate is set at 1 in 32,768. Good luck grabbing one of those. As for the rest of the drops, you're really only looking at a few rune items that are rarely dropped, a few herbs here and there, and some small quantities of runes. So honestly, if you don't manage to grab a whip drop, your profit per hour is going to suck. Moving on to the gear setup, I'll be going with the Helm of Nitsnot, Fire Cape, Amulet of Torture, Bandos Chestplate and Tassets, Barrow's Gloves, Primordial Boots, Berserker's Ring Eye, and my weapon of choice and offhand will be the Arclight and the Dragon Defender. In my inventory, you'll see 2 super attack and strength, a Ceradoma Godsword, 2 sharks, an herb sack, and some house teleports. This setup here is generally good for staying for about 2 hours. If you want to increase your trip times, just bring more pure sets. Additionally, if you don't have a Ceradoma Godsword, feel free to bring Guthans, it will work just as well. And lastly, since the Abyssal Demons drop table isn't the best, I do bring the herb sack and try to squeeze a little more profit out of their mediocre drop table. Alright, so now we can move into the loot and the real GP per hour of the Abyssal Demons. As usual, I spent 25 hours camping this iconic Slayer monster, and I ended up raking in 2,839 kills. This averaged me about 113 kills per hour. After 25 hours, I ended up with a total loot value of 11,649,878 GP, and lucky for me, I was right on the money with the whip drop rate. I ended up with 5 whips, which as you can see from the price checker is the majority of the loot value. As for supplies, I ended up using 38 pure sets and 24 sharks, which brings my supply cost to 102,216 GP. Removing this from my total loot value, I'm left with a total profit of 11,547,662 GP, which brings me to an average profit per hour of 462k. You know, honestly, that's not that bad, but it's not great either. It is better than quite a few of the NPCs I've covered in this series, but just for fun, had I not ended up with any whip drops, my total profit would have been only 2,264,537 GP, giving me an average profit per hour of only 91k. I am very glad that I got those whips that made this video actually accurate. So, as for my final thoughts, without a whip drop, the Abyssal Demons are very, very bad. Looking at some of the other NPCs with much better drop tables, excluding the rares, the Abyssal Demon drop table could use a buff. It's considered a high-level Slayer monster, but doesn't really show much in terms of drops. Although, with the trade-off being a best-in-slot item, I suppose the mediocrity of the drop table is well-founded. If you're sticking to Abyssal Demons on a Slayer task, on average you'll probably see one whip every 2 to 3 tasks, but there is always that chance to get extra lucky. I myself have had a task of around 200 Abyssal Demons and ended up getting 5 whips. It all just depends on how the digital dice roll. But that is going to do it, everybody. This brings us to the end of the Real GP series. Thanks again for sticking with me through the whole series. I've had a ton of fun making this series and putting all the information and videos together, but for now it's on to bigger and better things. If you like this video, please consider leaving a thumbs up down below. They really help the video spread around. And if you have any questions or comments, please also leave those down below. I will try to get to every single one that I can. Don't forget to tap that subscribe button on your way out. I will see you all next week. Take it easy, everybody.